Hello everyone, my name is the RetroDen and welcome to This Week in the Backlog. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you know that I've been doing now for a few months, ever since mid-2024, updates on my backlog and what I've been playing throughout the months. And I've been really enjoying doing that, and people also enjoyed that a lot. But one thing that I've come to notice is that for me, doing it on a monthly basis is way much harder than doing it on a weekly basis, since let's say if I play a game a week, I am reviewing that game in that week in terms of a text post to either Infinite Backlog or Backlog, and I have my thoughts so fresh in the head that it's better to review them that way, and that's the reason I am doing this new weekly segment, which I don't guarantee is going to be weekly because there might be some weeks that I don't beat anything, but I prefer to do it on a shorter notice rather than doing it on a monthly notice so that I can remember the ideas I've had about the game and they are still fresh in my head so that I can talk about what I've experienced and what I feel about a certain game. So without further ado, and considering we're already 2 weeks into April, we have a little bit more to talk about, but let's talk about how April has been going in terms of gaming and what I've been played and what I beat these last 2 weeks. Starting by LEGO Indiana Jones. It was something chill to contrast with all the action games I've been playing throughout 2025, and although I didn't complete it to 100% because it didn't have any achievements, since LEGO games are some type of games that I actually really enjoy 100%ing and collecting every single little thing, but I wasn't really motivated to do so since I didn't have any achievements to get. But I really enjoyed playing this childhood classic of mine since I haven't played it for a long time, ever since my original playthrough on the PS2. I think the game lacks in comparison to its contemporary, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, but I do appreciate it for the fact that it for sure is harder to make a video game about Indiana Jones than it is Star Wars. Nevertheless, the levels were quite good, albeit somewhat longer than what I would have preferred, and the Star Wars cameo characters you can collect are also a delight. There is no amount of writing that can equate the value that Nier Automata gives to the player. Not only because I don't have the writing skills to describe the beautiful, delicate, and intricate complexity of Nier Automata and its narrative, but also due to the sheer fact that this game is probably one of the most important games ever made in the entire history of the industry. Nier Automata is most definitely and objectively one of the greatest games of all time. If in 1997 Final Fantasy VII for the PS1 was considered the page turn for games that showed what was possible inside of a video game when it comes to narrative and exposition, Nier Automata is the solidifying of said pages, the hardcover of narrative and exposition in video games. This game is the prime example of the fact that it does not matter how good of a background or story you have if you don't know how to properly feed it to the player. The way the story is delivered through you by forcing you to learn more and go at it again and again and again just to keep revealing new mechanics, new world building, new characters, new lore, new music and new portrayal of emotion through the game is a symphony of all the aspects of gaming itself. I think it would be a disservice to not play this if you are a fan of video games in general. And I also think it would be a big personal disservice to you and other players if I were to ramble on in this short review about combat, RPG mechanics, graphics and other stuff like that, as it completely abolishes the point of this game in my humble opinion. To experience why so many people enjoy this game, you truly have to play it from start to finish. And I mean complete finish, route A to route E, and you might not understand this if you have never played it, but you will do so once you get into it, if you ever get into it. The game has to truly end for you to come to terms with how you felt about it, and it knows that. Hence why it forces you to delete your save file and go on with your life having now experienced it. As a personal reflection when it comes to Nier Automata, I am glad I finally played it, and I am glad I get to die knowing I enjoyed a game like it. There is no amount of words I could write that will ever describe this experience, so I will end this part of the review with a very brief thanks to everyone involved in Nier Automata, director Yoko Taro and Square Enix for actually believing that this universe of Nier was worth a sequel that eventually ended up becoming one huge masterpiece. And right after that, I finally took Mario Odyssey out of my backlog. Finishing Super Mario Odyssey in 2025 was a very pleasant experience. I am glad I finally got to finish this game, even though I am multiple years late to the party, since it gives me more time to simmer on the experience without the pressure of others and how they felt about the game near its release. It also gave me the possibility of now being able to compare it to other more recent 3D platformers such as Astro Bot. Mario Odyssey has a lot of charm, mainly because of the diversity it brings to the table in both its mechanics and the planets you travel through. I really like the design of all the specific kingdoms, as I think they are each unique in their own way and manage to portray each specific vibe with a very good mix of colors, music and art style. As for the mechanics, I think Nintendo once again found a way to bring an external thing to Mario with Cappy that is both unique and fits well enough that it never feels repetitive. And it also feels good to interact with, which is a must when it comes to movement mechanics in a 3D platformer. I can't even start counting the amount of times I just got distracted and started ground pounding into jump, into head throw, into dive, into head jump, into dive, and you get the idea, just to try to reach a higher place. And also, I have to give a huge highlight to 3 specific things inside of this game. One is the water-focused kingdoms, as they really got the point with how water is supposed to look and play in games like these, and the fact that they actually made the water work with a sort of realism to it when contrasted with highly stylized kingdoms, which is really good. Number 2 is the amount of content in the game, and the fact that it allows you to choose the moons you need to get before progressing onto the next kingdom, which I consider to be very positive on the accessibility side of things, seeing as this game is a game for everyone to play, and some people might not be so skilled as to grab some harder moons that are harder to get. And last but not least, with number 3 is Peach's Castle, because it really reminded me of Mario 64, which was the entire point of having that section in the game. If I had to close off this review, I would say I am not a fan of including pesky little negative things on every review just to be nitpicky and say I am unbiased. But that being said, the only thing I didn't really enjoy about the game, and it wasn't really bad, were the bosses, but that's just because I'm not really a fan of bosses in these types of games, but I really just like exploring and going through the entire kingdoms and stuff like that. Overall, I would say Mario Odyssey was quite the perfect game. And last but not least, to finish off what actually has been going on for the remainder of the week and the days that I played something after finishing Mario Odyssey, I have to talk about Final Fantasy XIV Online. Now, coincidentally, I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV Online again, fresh from the start, exactly 1 year apart from when I started it back on the PS5. This time I'm playing it on PC, and I'm going again through A Realm Reborn, this time playing as a Marauder. I still don't know much about the game, but as you guys know, I am a huge WoW fan, and I feel like, as someone who likes to enjoy every single type of game and that likes to know more about the industry, I feel like it's finally time for me to sit down with Final Fantasy XIV Online and go through the story that everyone considers to be amazing. I'm a big fan of complex stories in video games, and tying it to an MMO is something I am a huge fan of and always have been ever since World of Warcraft Cataclysm way back then. So I am here for the journey. I am now slogging through A Realm Reborn, which I have already beaten on the PS5. I've put around 80 hours into the game on the PS5, but now I am going at it fresh on Steam, and I am really enjoying what I have been experiencing, and I've been going through it with my brain kind of shut off, even though I am always trying to give my attention to the small things again, to just remember where I was at and what I had already understood and what I still didn't understand and needed to look at more, because I really want to dive deep into this game and put way more than 100 hours in it eventually, but that's something for us to talk about more in the coming weeks as I beat the remaining expansions that I still have to go through. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this update on the backlog. I've been really enjoying myself, and if you want to know how I've been feeling about 2025 in general when it comes to gaming and the backlog journey, you can go check out my previous video where I talk exactly about that. Other than that, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe so you don't miss any of the future updates we're going to have. And other than that, this has been the Retro Dan, and I'm out.
now.